All right, y'all. Welcome back. Behind the Gate, episode 20. Super excited about this. As y'all know, I'm Andrew. Guest today is someone whose voice is woven into the Triad soundtrack. He's been a radio powerhouse, a TV host, a motivational speaker,
Wow.
a true servant to his community.
Wow.
When you hear his name, you'll think positive energy, laughter, and impact. He's the founder of Next Level of the Triad, the man behind countless #1 radio shows, the host of one of the most unique talk shows to ever hit television in the Triad. He's an author, a mentor, a coach, a faith-driven leader. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, Busta Brown.
Woo!
Buster, glad you're here today, man.
That was a dope intro.
Yeah. I told you I wanted to read that off the cards. I couldn't memorize that one. Anyway, how we feeling, dude?
Man, I'm feeling... It's always amazing. I just posted something on Facebook, Drew, that I went to a restaurant about a couple weeks ago, and a young lady ran up to me, and her and her coworker was like, we were trying to figure out if that was you, and it is you. Can I get a picture and a hug? And I'm thinking, after all these years, since 1993, you know, it's still happening, right? I go to Sam's Club, and people still want the pictures and the hugs and stuff. And every time that happens, I'm a big wuss. Every time that happens, I get in my car and cry.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, every time it happens, I get in my car and I cry. And I'm like, after all of these years, man, you know, I still impact people's lives. And I'll never forget some years ago when I was working at 102 Jams, I remember one of the personalities, young cat, he was just an intern, and he was kind of talking and kind of yelling at a listener on the phone. And I'm like, hey. I said, if the owners was giving you a hard time, would you talk to them like that? And it was like, well, no, blah, blah. I said, what about the program director, with the boss that runs the radio station? No. I said, well, that's your boss.
Yeah.
Your listeners are your boss. So if you're going to treat anybody with the utmost respect, it's them, because without them, there is no paycheck. Without the
Very
ratings
true.
and the people. So I always think of the people who listen to me for all these years as family. And it just, I don't know, I'm about to cry now. Just every time. So when I came here, when Thomas told me you were a fan, I thought, here we go again. Don't cry in front of this dude, right? You know, don't jump out, dude. Just enjoy the interview, right?
Yeah.
So I appreciate you, Drew.
Dude, it's it was funny. Last episode we had a local musician on, and we got to talking about hip hop roots and where his roots were.
Who was it?
Squidward.
Okay,
Yeah.
Squid,
So
yeah.
he's kind of like he went viral on like more of what I call like new age hip hop. I'll put it this way. I brought up Wu-Tang.
Okay.
And we started talking about like favorite rap verses of all time, and like Triumph and Inspector Deck was like one of my favorite. And he was like, oh, I don't know that I've heard that one.
What?
I was like,
The Woo?
so I played it, but in the back of my mind, I'm like,
Oh my God.
man, like,
wow.
he's younger though. So I get it. But like, I think back to, you know, like we started talking about one of the first albums I ever bought was DMX. It's Dark and Hell's Hot, and, you know, Stop Being Greedy coming on the radio. Like I would listen to 102 Jams. Every time I got in the car, I was like, all right, are they going to play DMX? They going to play DMX?
Right.
So I was only like 10 years old, but I was like, you know, anyway. Going back to 102, let's kind of start there from the beginning, because that's where I think about you. I think about back there in elementary and middle and high school and hearing Busta Brown on the radio and 102 Jams. And I always wanted a bumper sticker, and I just knew if we had it, somebody was going to pull me over and give my mom $100.
Get that loot, baby.
Yeah. But let's start there. Where'd you grow up? And kind of how did where you grew up and how you grew up lead you into the radio world?
I grew up in San Francisco, California, in a neighborhood called Hunters Point. And in my neighborhood, if you look over the hill, you can see O.J. Simpson's neighborhood. I went to church with O.J. Simpson.
Okay.
Not a popular thing to say right now, because some people like, you want to say that? You're not embarrassed to say that? But I mean, I did. It was cool back then.
The most recent documentaries.
It was
him.
cool. So I grew up in the hood, man. The hood, right? But you know, like when you see San Francisco, where I grew up is not that glamorous stuff you see on TV. It was like the hood. But one of the things people don't understand about the hood, that's where you get the most love. Now you hear the horrible stories on TV, but where I grew up, on the weekends, the local bands would come out and perform, and everybody would bring their own dish. If you didn't have milk and your next door neighbor had milk, you had milk. We took care of each other in the hood, man. So that's how I grew up. And but then you had that other side where, you know, you had the guys that was pretty brutal and whatever. And, you know, and then growing up in the hood, you know, my brother was a cool dude. My oldest brother was cool, and a lot of cats were cool, but I never had, you know, the gentleman thing, you know what I mean? And so I never saw a beautiful relationship type of situation. So when I was 5 is when it started. I started listening to the radio. I don't know if you heard Sly and the Family Stone. Mm-hmm. Sly Stone was a morning show DJ in San Francisco.
I did not know.
Yeah. And so I would listen to the radio DJs, and these cats were smooth and educated and just gentlemen. And I never met cats like that. And I'm like, wow, there it is.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be that. It started at 5 years old. And they would tell us, you know, they say, hey, if you're on your way to school, make sure you take school seriously. They would say beautiful things like that. If something was going on in a neighborhood or something worldwide in the Black communities, they would talk about us uniting and coming together and, you know, working things out. And so that was my attraction to radio, was these amazing men that I've never met in my community. The guys in my community were super dope, but they wasn't that. And I needed that other option. And I got that option through radio. And so that became my thing, man. And then, you know, through radio, I started loving music, you know. And when 11 hit, I was listening to this song called Disco Duck by Rick Dees. That's how old I am.
Greensboro. Yeah, Greensboro. Right?
And so I'm like, and I've always been silly, Andrew. And I was like, man, that's the junk, right? It was the ducks singing. I was just a kid, and I loved it. And one day, Rick came on TV, and the guy that was interviewing him said, so you're a radio DJ in Los Angeles, California? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, what? That's it. I never went backwards. At 11, I said, that's what I'm going to be. Never went backwards, dude. And as time went on, I started DJing and all that stuff. But radio was my thing, man. And I never forget when I was in the 7th and 8th grade. I was terrible in basketball, but I was on the team because I was funny. And so everybody always wanted me to be on the, you know,
team. You gotta have comic relief, man.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I was terrible. And so the summer of '79, my brother just had enough because he felt like people thought I was weird with this radio, because I was obsessed with it, dude. Like, if you leave the house, I get my sister's brush and I'm hosting a Jackson 5 concert. If you leave the house, I'm on Oprah, right? Oprah's interviewing me. I couldn't go to school because girls losing their mind. We love you, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, right? Dude, I remember one time I was hosting a Jackson 5 concert up here, right? And Mike was like, Buster, you want to come up here with me and my brothers? And I was like, yeah, Mike. And so I went up there on the stage and danced with the Jacksons, and that stuff became real. And one day, man, it became so real, I didn't want to let that dream go. I had to have it, bro.
Yeah.
I had to have it. And that's where that real passion came in. And then the summer of '79, my brother decided I was weird. I was 14. I needed to play basketball. And I'm like, nah, I want to do radio. So I was scared of him. My brother was gangster, right? And so he took me out there, and all I did was just did exactly as my brother told me. He said, if you do exactly as I tell you, you'll learn to play. I did exactly as he asked me to do, and I became the middle school basketball star, high school star, one of the top leading scorers in the state of California. And I was a beast in high school, but radio was still my thing. And my senior year, I just said to myself, forget my brother and everybody else. I'm going to broadcast school. I don't care what nobody says. And that became the beginning of my journey into radio. I went to broadcast school. And
now, were you getting recruited to play basketball as well at that time with the accolades?
5 colleges.
5 colleges.
Yeah, right. I know it was Rice in Texas, Dartmouth, because my grades were good. It was a couple, I'm so old, dude. It was a couple others. So about 5 colleges sent me letters and wanted to offer me scholarships, but not on the level of
Those are still pretty big. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
not on the level of a Cooper Flagg getting recruited, right? Dude. That dude's a beast, right?
I'm a huge Carolina fan, so I don't want to admit it, but he's a good player.
Yeah, so I got some offers, but I wasn't interested at all. Man, my thing was radio, so I went to broadcast school and was having a lot of fun there. And do you have time to tell you this? Okay,
go ahead. So, you're good, man.
So I go to broadcast school, and I meet this guy named Bailey Coleman. And Bailey Coleman's an older cat, funny, right? And I'm like, he just here, just having fun. I know he's not really trying to pursue radio. I was like, 20, something like that. And Bailey just loved me, and I used to write poetry, and he just thought I was amazing. And he said, "You're funny. Go to the other cafe. It's a comedy spot, and just do your thing. Maybe you can be a comedian." I'm like, nah. So the whole class went to the other cafe to watch me perform. Everybody thought I was hilarious, right? And so, was it Rob Snyder? I think it was probably Rob's. He was the host that time. And he said, "Man, you could be the next Eddie Murphy, man. Come on Mondays." That's when the big dogs just kind of pop up. You never know who's going to pop up. I'm like, all right, I'll come. I'll do my thing. So Monday come, I did it. My whole family, all my friends, everybody was there, right? So I'm like, I'm about to kill this joint, right? Because I was always silly, and I was doing it for 3 weeks, and they kept telling me that I was getting better and better. So Monday comes, and all the comedians are doing their thing. The MC was like, "Man, you are going to kill it. Relax. You got this, right? This is the big crowd. You got this." I'm like, all right, cool. So just as he's about to introduce me, some guy busts in the door with a hoodie on. And he had his hoodie down so you couldn't see him. And he was walking to the stage like this. And the MC was like, "Oh my gosh, it's my cousin Carl. Oh, my cousin Carl." And no one could see him. Everyone was trying to look, and no one could see him. He get on the stage, turns around, it's Robin Williams.
Oh my gosh.
Improv for an hour and some change, destroyed the place. And then the MC said, "Oh my God, Robin Williams!" And the crowd went bananas and went crazy. Robin killed the place. And then he introduced me, made it round, and walked away.
You're like, okay.
And I'm like, what the freak? and anybody with sense would have just said, "I'm not about to do this," right? But no, I was nervous and I was scared. And I don't know if you ever saw Mork and Mindy, old clips, but Mork and Mindy was a show Robin Williams was on in the 70s. And he used to always do this thing called Nanu Nanu, right?
Yeah.
My goofy butt, the first thing I did was Nanu Nanu. Right, it was crickets, and it was absolutely terrible. And I was trying to hold in my tears not to cry. It was a terrible night, right? It was the worst night of my life.
Sometimes you bomb, it's all good.
Yeah, and so that's my story with that, man, and getting into radio. And so Bailey, tried to comfort me. My mother was like, "Honey, you were good, but next time, be funny." So Bailey and I stayed cool, and one day he said, "Maya Angelou is my sister," and I'm like, "Dude, come on, Bailey." Right? So I'm making fun, "Oh, man, Bailey said Maya Angelou is his sister," and everybody in class like, "Come on, Bailey, that is not your sister, bro." That Tuesday of the next week, Dr. Angelo came to our class. And if you read I Know Why the Cage Birds Sing, Bailey Coleman is a big part of that book. She clearly loved her brother to show up at the school.
Yeah.
Right, that is her dude, man. And
That's
that was
crazy.
one of my closest friends in broadcast school was Dr. Maya Angelou's brother, Bailey Coleman.
Wow.
Yeah, I have crazy stories. Yeah. And so I graduate broadcast school, and my first job was doing traffic, telling people where to go in traffic. And then I got a job at this radio station on I actually had a tough time, Andrew, in radio, because my first job doing traffic, everything was going well. And then this new guy that took over as general manager did not like black people. And he wanted me out. And the first little thing I did, he got rid of me. And now this radio station in Stockton, California, I'm going back and forth with them because they wanted me to send a picture. And I'm like, because I know you want me to send a picture just so you can see if I'm black or not. So I never sent the picture. So he had enough and hired me and asked me to come in for an interview anyway. I get there because I'm on my way driving going, why does this black dude care about whether I'm white or black? This is ridiculous. So I get there. I'm like, oh. He was like, oh. And he was like, I thought you were white. And I was like, I thought you were black. And that right there got me the job, right? Yeah, that got me the job. And so I was on that station and doing my thing. I couldn't pronounce agriculture, but I had to do the agriculture reports. Back then, I couldn't even pronounce it. And so whenever I had to do the reports, the listeners would call in, laugh, and say, get your blank on the radio until you learn how to talk. People were mean, man. And so I did that. And then about 6 months into it, I was working midnight to 6 months into it, this older white cat came in. He was like, who are you? I said, oh, I'm the overnight guy. He said, nobody told me about you. Boom, got the boot the next day. Because he didn't know that they hired a black guy. But this guy was calling me at this nightclub. He just called me every night going, man. Now, keep in mind, Stockton is about 2 hours away from San Francisco. And so this guy was calling me saying, man, I would love for you to come work in my club. Man, we opening up this 5-star hotel, top-notch club. And it'd be cool to have a black-sounding white guy like you to be our DJ. I'm like, oh, here we go again. And I was like, okay. And I let him think I was white guy. So I go in for the interview, and I never forget the bartender, I won't say her name, but the bartender was like, blank, I won't say his name either. She was like, blank, Menard's here. And he was like, oh, cool. I heard him in the back. Hey, my man. He came out and looked like he saw a ghost. Right. And so he was like, look, man, I got to be honest with you. I don't want it too dark in here. Said that to my face. And the first thing I thought of, I was a little young dude from the hood. I said, you know what? Show them. And I just mimicked these DJs that I grew up going to clubs, checking out and doing parties. And I mimicked them and shut it down, man. And that club was super hot. Then I started working at another club. And I never forget, I was engaged at the time when I was working at this club called La Paradis. And Safari Run. Safari Run is where I met my ex-fiance. And she was like, man, you one of the most popular DJs at the club. And I was like, yeah, but that wasn't my dream. I wanted to be on the radio. I said, at 27, this is not what I wanted to do. And the top station in San Francisco was KSOL. And I was calling them from 1984 to 1989. They never returned my call. Right? And I never forget, she said, then call him. I'm like, dude, I've been calling him before I met you. I've been calling for 4 years and they ain't never called me back. So I'm not about to call them. She said, just pick up the phone and call them. So I picked up the phone and I'll never forget India. She was the receptionist at KSOL back then. She said, KSOL? And I said, hey, is Bernie Moody in? And she said, is this Menard? I'm like, whoa, yeah. She said, he's been expecting your call, couldn't find your number. Put me on, patch me to him or however you say that. And he answers the phone. He said, man, I love your stick-it-to-itness. You still want to work with us? I'm like, absolutely, bro. Right. And he said, come see me tomorrow. So KSOL is like Local Boy Makes, like that's the station in San Francisco. Yeah. And I go in for the interview. He told me, all the cool things about me, staying with it and staying consistent. So he said, I need you to come in throughout the week and our 10 to 2 p.m. DJ is going to train you. And I'm like, all right, cool. Now, the crazy thing is, just before that, we had an earthquake. Right? So I get to the station and I say, hey, I'm Menard Brown, blah, blah, blah. And she said, yeah, I knew you were coming. And I'm like, all right, cool. So then I was, standing in the studio and she said, why are you in the studio. You can leave. I'm like, oh, no, I was told you were going to train me. She was like, oh, no. As you can see, I'm pregnant. And just in case another earthquake happened, I can get out the building safe and you can run the board. I'm like, so if an earthquake comes, you leave and I die. And I'm like, okay, I'll die. I'm in the building,
Okay,
dude.
I'm here.
I'm in the building,
Took
bro.
me 5 years. I'm here.
I'm in the building. And so my career took off from there, man. And then I ended up, they didn't let me do my thing because, the guys were like mega stars there. And so Jams hit me up and I ended up coming here and I get here to 102 Jams. And the crazy thing is I was trying to find a station and I'm from San Francisco. So I never heard, Southern, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You move into the Bible Belt.
Yeah. So I never heard the Southern accents and stuff, And so I get here and I'm lost. So I saw this young lady and her two friends or brothers or whatever. And I said, excuse me, how do I get to Spring Garden? And she was like, you go straight up that street up there, and you turn straight over there. And I was in stitches. I was like, oh my God. And I'm laughing. And she said, you picking at me? And she called them two dudes and they came running to the car. And I let up my window. I'm like, these dudes about to beat the crap out of me. You talking about my sister? Raise that window down. And I was scared to death. And I was like, dude, I'm not from here. I didn't mean no harm. I promise you. I'm sorry, dude. Yeah. I'm just trying to get to 102 Jams. And they lit up. And they're, oh, we know where that is. And I was like, oh, Lord Jesus, right? And then in my head, I thought after all that, she's going to sound different. I thought she would go, so you just go straight up that street up there and just make a left. In my head, right? Because after the laughing, I almost got my butt kicked. And she said, okay, fine. You go straight up that street right up there.
Did you start laughing again?
I started laughing. Then they start laughing with me. They say, it's cool, man. I say, I'm so sorry. So I get to 102, and this is crazy, right?
And this is 1993. 93?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get to 102, and the guy that was on the morning show at the time, he had the same name that I was using. But it was no big deal until it's time for me to go on the air. They decided they wanted to change my name because he didn't want me using a name similar to his. And I understood that because he was the star, And remember, I was always the basketball star. I was always the dude. And when I moved here, the Bushman was a beast. Kendall B was a beast. The morning show was monster. Apollo was on midday. And I was like, finally, I'm on the Showtime Lakers. I don't have to be the star. I don't have to carry nothing. I just got to fit in. 102 Jams is cold-blooded, right? And so I had to figure out a name. And then the young lady I was dating at the time, she said, and let me go back to 1989. If I would have never met my ex-fiance, I would never be in radio because I would have never picked up that phone. And when she said pick up that phone and call, so I'm always grateful to her because I'd have never picked up the phone. I was done trying to call them. And
I just love that.
Isn't that crazy?
As somebody who's in sales and we were talking about motivational things and a lot of entrepreneurial things come across my feeds and whatnot. And I'm gonna butcher this, but hearing that story makes me think of that little graphic where it's like the dude's digging. And he's like one more dig away from getting to where he's trying to go.
Boom, dude.
And then the top one is him walking away. And it's like, man, 5 years of persistence, chasing a dream.
Yeah.
And then something as simple as somebody saying, maybe just call him one more time.
Just one more time.
Just one more, you pick up the phone and call. And it's like, well, we've been trying to find you.
Exactly, man. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, like everybody have a season, you meet people. And God placed them in your life for a reason. And that was that reason, man, because if God would have never placed her in my life, I would have never made that phone call. And so now I'm at Jams and I'm about to go on the air. And a young lady I was dating at that time I told her that I have to find a name. And she said, I know what you should call yourself. Call yourself Busta Brown like those shoes since you're so silly. I say, dare me. She said, I dare you to call yourself Busta Brown. I said, okay. Hit the mic. Big Bad Busta Brown. And that's how I got the name Busta Brown. So the very first day on 102 Jams, the very first time I pushed the on button and introduced Tupac and MC Breed, Gotta Get Mine, Gotta Get Yours. I'll never forget it. And I turned the mic off. My boss and everybody else come in the studio. This is my first talk break. Oh man, you have to find another job. They just sold the station. I'm like,
were they
what?
joking?
No. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And so everybody was like, you got to make an air check. You know, air check is, your resume, right?
Yeah.
And you have to make another air check. And I'm thinking, oh, my son can't move here because, from San Francisco because I don't have a job now. And so I'm like, this is crazy. And then the guy that ran 102 at that time, he said, Buster, listen, man. I mean, Doc, whatever I was. And he said, listen, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry about this. I'm just finding out by looking at a magazine. We found out by reading a magazine that we were sold. And I'm like, this is crazy. And so I was like, you know what? They're going to keep me. I'm about to kill it. They're keeping me. So I stuck around, and 3 weeks in, they did decide to roll with me and a couple of and the other guys, because the radio personalities at that time, they were just monsters, man. They were cold-blooded.
Yeah.
So they kept us, but the general manager at the time and the general sales manager at the time went to the program director and said, you got to fire Busta because people don't like him. And we're losing money because our clients hate him because he's calling people monkeys and hanging up. I was wild, right?
Yeah.
And I guess they wasn't, ready for some dude like that. And because I got a chance to do my thing, right? And I was like, I'm about to do my thing. And I was having a ball. And they just wanted me out, man. They said, you got to fire this dude. And the guy that ran 102 at the time, he was like, I'm not doing it. I see something in him. And nope. And they said, I'm telling you, you're excellent at what you do, but this time you blew it by picking this guy. He's going to cause you to lose ratings. He said, I guarantee you he will be number one in one ratings book. Give me a chance, I'll make you eat your words. And he believed in me like that. And I wasn't even on that level yet. I really wasn't polished. I really didn't know how to do radio like that. But he saw something in me, man. And that first book, I was number one. And he just let me do my thing, and I just grew from there because of Brian Douglas. I have to give him a shout out. And he believed in me, man. And I wasn't that good, but he's, I never had that kind of freedom before. And he just believed in me, man. It gave me a chance, and the rest is history. And I became Busta B.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
Became Busta B.
It's just hearing, I'm still like a little fanboy over here because it's like, all I ever heard was you being great, but now to hear kind of the story behind that, it's just really cool. I appreciate you sharing.
Brian Douglas helped me become great, man. He just gave me a shot, and I became like this, I guess star, radio star. And then I started hanging up, people hanging up in your face, and and just became that dude, and became Busta Brown, and everything was going good. But I was pretty mean. Like I would meet people, and never forget meeting this guy at this club, and he was looking around trying to figure out where's my bodyguards, and I'm like, what do I need a bodyguard for? He said, you're not afraid somebody gonna kick your butt? He didn't say butt. Yeah. And I was like, wow. And so it just became a lot of that stuff. Celebrities wanted to fight me because I was off the chain, right? Oh yeah. Walked out on my interviews, and I was the dude that's gonna ask it or put you out there like that.
Yeah.
And so I decided to start mentoring youth. And one of the kids, my first Busta buddy, was a big dude, right? And I took Big Papa by Biggie and called it Big Sloppy. I love it when you call me Big Sloppy. Throw them hamburgers over here if you ain't gonna eat them. You know, I used to remake songs all the time.
Yeah.
And so one day I went to pick my dude up, and he said, I heard you on the radio this morning. And I'm like, ooh, did you hear Big Sloppy? And I saw it in his eyes that he did. I'm like, oh, and that hurt. And then I had this commercial called Son of a Bee Pizza. You take a bite of this pizza, you say, son of a bee, right? And this dude called me up. He said, Busta, I got a 6-year-old daughter in the back seat, man. She just said son of a bee. I just need you to know that. It hung up in my face. It gave me test my own medicine, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, dang. And it just started to bother me. So about the time 2000 came along, everything changed, right? I decided I want to make a difference because I start realizing what an impact I had on people. So I wanted to make a difference. I was wild as heck. Now, I was a ladies dude and wild and hypocriting on the radio. I was putting out things from my heart, that the love from my heart, but I was wild as crap, right? And so it just started to bother me. And then in 2000, my whole game changed. And I had the TV show. Thomas Marvin was on the TV show. Tabitha Brown got her start on my TV show. And the TV show was super dope. The Busta Brown show was super dope.
Thomas, you were on the show?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Thomas was my dude on the show.
Thomas, okay.
Yeah, Thomas was.
We were still in high school then, weren't we? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. What did I meet you, Thomas?
Restaurant Pastiche on Elm Street.
Yeah. So I met Thomas, and he told me he wanted to work with me, and I said, "Come on." Right? He just seemed like Thomas a good dude.
He's a good dude.
And I knew that then. So it was no interviewing and none of that stuff. Like, come on, work with me. And everybody fell in love with Thomas. And the show started killing it, man. And we started doing real well with the show. And Tabitha Brown came to audition for what we called the Mic Girl. And the way the Mic Girl came about, I didn't like to interview celebrities anymore backstage, face to face, because they sometimes can be different.
Yeah.
And it just started getting kind of boring. So I hired a couple girls, but Tab was the one I thought was the one. And so she started doing her own thing. And her first interview was LL Cool J. Isn't that crazy? And yeah, that's crazy. And so the show was going well, but my heart was heavy because, I was wilding out, insulting people. And so 2000 to 2003, the dynamics of my relationship with my boss changed because I didn't want to be that dude anymore. And he wanted me to continue to do the things that kept getting us ratings. And I became more of the kind of preachy on the air. And he said something that blew me away, that made me realize it was time to leave Jams. He said, I agree with 99.9% of the stuff you say, but I have a radio station to run. And whenever you get into your soapbox, you're telling your fans they're not cool anymore. And I'm like, wow. He said, you insulting them when you insult the music, because I insult the music all the time. I just hated the music. In 2000, I just didn't like the music and the way hip hop was going. And he hit me in the head with that, and I thought, I love my audience, and I don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to stop being Busta, though. I mean, I wanted to keep working at 102 and doing my thing, I was enjoying it. So God took my voice. I had no more voice. I couldn't talk anymore. I think it was 99. And I couldn't talk anymore. I had to have vocal surgery. So the day I was supposed to come back after my surgery, I didn't feel good about it, so we couldn't work it out, and I didn't come back to Jams. And 3 months later, he called me back, and I ended up working at QMG. So we built that relationship again, and we're cool to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now I'm at WZOO, old school radio station, doing my thing and having fun. I'm gonna do that until I'm 80.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long you got until then? At least 40 years, right? I'm messing with you.
20.
20?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
you look good for 60.
20, 18, 19, 20 years, I'll be 80. And I love radio, man. It's my love, man.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I love what I do with my youth, which is the New Cool movement. And the New Cool Movement is an organization of young people that offer their peers another option of cool. We're not saying that hip hop today is not cool. We're saying that here's another option where it's not the cussing, it's not the sexual content, and we're not judging nobody's thing, right? I mean, because I was wild. So I'm not going to say now that I've grown out of that stuff, now you're a bad person. I'm saying let's create an option, because if it wasn't for the options of the black radio DJs when I was younger, I could have went a different direction, right? Because I grew up with black exploitation movies with pimps and drug dealers and killers in the movies, and I grew up with that. But then when I heard these black radio guys, these classy, intelligent men, that's the option I took, right? And so with New Cool, we're bringing that back, saying, you can dig what you dig, but what about a young group of young people that's accountable to God? What about a group of young people that's accountable to family and civic duty? This is what we're going to do, right? Yeah. And so that's what we offer. We do concerts, we do forums, we go to the schools and do stop the bullying and violence assemblies, and we do cool stuff like that, financial literacy camps, and so we do stuff like that to say to kids, here's another option of cool. It's cool to be kind as well. And it's doing good, man. We get in a few schools. I want to get in every school we can, but it's tough getting into these schools because I think a lot of schools feel like, we don't want to make it seem like our school have these issues.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but all schools do, and we just want to help. We're not going to heal anything, but the one thing we want to do with New Cool is at least make it better.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love doing more than anything. And but radio is my thing, man. I don't know what I'd do if I don't, I love it, man.
Yeah.
I would feel empty if I wasn't doing radio anymore.
That's awesome. It's so how many people do you talk to? So what do you do? What do you do? And they tell you what they do, but very rarely do you meet somebody that just is so passionate about what they do.
Oh yeah.
And that's definitely a blessing. That's awesome to see, well, I do this, I don't really, it's all right.
Yeah.
So that's, and I think it's crazy to hear that, I'm with you 99.9% of the way, but you're being I don't know. That's a tough one for me too. I could see how it's like.
It was tough, but to his defense, that was the brand of 102, and that was his vision for 102, and no one else was complaining but me. So if that's, I get it. I agree with you. I agree about God. I agree about the beautiful things you're saying, but that's not the vision for what we're doing with this product. It's like going to McDonald's saying, hey, y'all need to stop selling burgers because hamburgers is bad for you. And then the owner is a vegetarian. And he's like, behind the scenes, I agree.
Yeah.
But this is our brand, And I don't necessarily say, I agree, but I understand. And I was on a regular basis on jams disrespecting their brand.
I get where it's coming from. I would stop
a song in the middle of the song saying I don't agree with the trash this station plays. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And so
is there one song that sticks out in your memory of doing that too? Because I also, as somebody who, like we talked about, I had a big love for hip hop growing up in middle school and high school. By the time I was 25, 15, 10 years ago, it was down to, there was only 2 or 3 hip hop artists I would personally listen to.
Right.
Because I think it got away from the lyrical side of it. And even though then there was a lot of violence and that stuff in the music, I feel like there was still a lot of storytelling in it too.
It was options, Andrew. Yeah. It was this and it was that. You had the party cats like the Jay-Z, the Nas, with the conscious rappers. You had all of that. And then you had your Wu. Then you had your Redmans. And then you had some of your gangster stuff. But there were options. Today, there's none. You know, I mean, you can say J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, whatever, but it's just not an option for these poor babies today, man, because the music is just, it's off the chain, but it is what it is.
Wait, look at Kendrick doing the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great show.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great concert. I thought he did a fantastic job. A lot of people are like, oh, we didn't like the half. Well, they were looking for the big fireworks and all that stuff, and you know, the sing-alongs and whatnot.
But he had a message, right?
He had a message,
Right.
And I personally think it was a great show,
Right.
And I'm a big Kendrick fan too. And I, you know, J. Cole. I think I would lean Kendrick more, but J. Cole. I like J. Cole too.
So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
On my radio show, I do something called The Dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Once you put something in the dungeon, that's it. It's gone and it's never heard of again and erased from your mind, right? It's a hypothetical thing I do.
Okay.
Right. Who do you put in the dungeon? Pac or Kendrick? And keep in mind, their music never exists anymore, period.
I think I'd have to go with Kendrick because of
You putting him in the dungeon.
I think I am, and he's, you know, one of the only hip hop artists I still continuously listen to now. And you know, I say that as somebody who got to know Pac more on the backside of his career and not his earlier stuff.
Okay.
But I just think as like a music buff, like the influence that he would have had on the entire, and I understand that if you went like you said, the two sides of the story, the poetic side of Tupac, but then you had the East and the West and the violence that went along with that. And I was too young to really understand that at that time. But I think just as an influence in the hip hop culture and how many people, you know, same thing with Biggie at the time, how many people wanted to do that because of them. Like, I don't think you ever have Kendrick or people like him without Pac anyway.
Right.
So I think I've got to put Kendrick in the dungeon and just deal with, there was still a lot of other good artists that came from that, and we just weren't blessed with Kendrick Lamar.
You said a mouthful.
Yeah.
A lot of young people have to understand that when they try to compare like a Chris Brown to a Michael Jackson. And kids do that. And Chris, like, don't do that. Don't ever compare to Michael Jackson. I can't compare to that. But without Mike, there is no Usher and Chris and Justin Timberlake, right?
Yeah.
They wouldn't have anything to, you know, model themselves after. So I love that, man, because without the Pac type of style, it wouldn't have been a Kendrick type of flow. So
yeah, and Pac's still on there. I mean, you know, Kendrick makes a lot of lists now, top 5 and 10 too.
Right.
But I don't know if anybody's list on across the board that doesn't have Pac somewhere in the top 5.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's just hard to argue that.
It's hard to argue that. LL or Jay-Z, who goes in the dungeon?
Oh man.
And keep in mind, their music's done. Their music's done. It's over.
I know. I gotta throw LL in there, and I know it's brutal because like I knew LL from, you know, like more of his TV show career in my age.
Okay.
But when I go back and listen to like
Rock
Rock the Bells, like he's just so smooth.
I'm bad.
Like his flow, and I remember that one because like MTV, that was a big. You know, he's there. So when I think of LL, I know the MC that he was, but I still see him. And then when I think of Jay-Z, now Jay-Z's coming out right when I'm really starting to get into music.
Right.
And so now there's that nostalgia to, you know, I heard Hard Knock Life before I knew Reasonable Doubt. So now I know that first album too. But then, you know, going through like, come on, man, when Big Pimpin' came out, and then just the Black album to me is still, you know, from start to finish, from play to just let it run, one of my favorite hip hop albums. So it's tough to throw that in the dungeon. There's been so many hours of my life I've listened to Jay-Z. Right. And you know, and then I start thinking about just the whole what came along with that. And then, you know, I was a big Eminem fan. And then Renegade was like, man, that was my song. It was Jay-Z and Eminem. And then I was a big Nas fan too. So having the Jay-Z and Nas back and forth, like, oh man, Ether. And then it's like here. And so like none of that would have happened without Jay-Z. Like that song Renegade doesn't happen. That beef where you get them going back and forth. And Nas was brutal in that. But then I started thinking about like, Beyonce probably still would have had the same career. But I go all the way to, you start asking me questions, man. I'll go. I go all the way to when me and my wife were in New York. One of the things we like to do is just, I pull up concerts, we love going to Broadway, sporting events, and like, what's around tonight or tomorrow night that we didn't know was here? And I'm looking and we're there, and Chris Rock is doing a special at the Apollo. Or excuse me, he's at Radio City Music Hall.
Right.
And I've never been to Radio City, never seen Chris Rock. And I was like, let's go. So we go, and it ends up being the back half of the Netflix special that he was filming. Okay. And he ended that show with a joke about how, if Jay-Z works at Burger King, he's not getting Beyonce, but if Beyonce works at Burger King, she can
right.
And
that was hilarious, dude.
I had a little buzz at the time, and his delivery is what made it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have been able to laugh at that joke if Jay-Z and Beyonce never happened. So I got to... I got to bury LL.
They were great for each other's career, because Jay had the street cred and B had the mass appeal. Mm-hmm. So it was just a marriage made in heaven type of thing with them two. So they did their thing.
I really love this game. We got to introduce this game on other episodes. This is great.
Yeah, man. And so it's something I do because with the dungeon, because I know everybody have their thing. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the toughest things for me would be, who do you put in the dungeon, Magic or Jordan? And for me, Jordan going in the dungeon because I'm a Magic fan. But it's a tough thing because...
Do you feel like you were from California, or do you just...
No, before? Magic, I just... My argument is this. Other than Magic's style of playing, he's just the greatest basketball player I've ever seen in my life. There is no basketball player in history that could have taken that Laker team to the NBA Finals and beat Dr. J as a rookie. Not 3 years in, once he became hot. Magic was a rookie in the NBA. And although he had Kareem and all of them, everybody else had great teams as well at that time. And he took that team and won a championship. Kareem got hurt. Magic played point guard and center. And was doing the hook that Kareem used to do. To say, listen, we don't have Kareem, I get it. But I tell you what, I'm still going to bring Reem back. So Magic's the greatest player of all time to me. But I'm not a Laker fan. I'm from San Francisco, so I like 49ers. Golden State Warriors,
They had a good run. He's a generational player too.
Yeah. I'm going to get in that because, I start with my little woe is me stuff, but we should have at least 3 more rings easily. But here's another argument that I have.
I want to hear your top 5 before we get off, but continue. Yeah.
Here's another argument I have, Andrew. And somebody tried to make a point. I wish I can remember their point, but I fell asleep on their point. I was like, right. While they were talking, I was like, shut up. Right? Because there's no point to this. Let me hear your point. So.
Hopefully I don't put you to sleep. I'll try.
So Bill Russell has 11.
Uh-huh.
Sam Jones has 8. Robert Horry has 7 rings. Why is everyone chasing 6? Because of Michael Jordan. How did the media get in your head to make you think you've done it all and you've accomplished the greatest thing ever in NBA history if you reach 6 rings, if there's 7 to get? How is that possible?
You good? Okay. Sometimes he needs to reset.
What's your thoughts on that? It's like, why aren't you chasing 11 or at least 7 or 8? I mean, Robert Horry has 8 rings, dude. And nobody talks about that. Sam Jones has 8 rings. Bill Russell has 11. And everyone talks about if Curry gets 6, he can get in the conversation about being the greatest. If LeBron had 6, he can get in the conversation of being the greatest of all time. Mike got 6. Well, I think LeBron is better than Mike. How? Mike got 6. Well, Bill Russell got 11.
Well, I think if I had to answer that question, it would go back to what you just said. When you're having that conversation, or most analysts or most people, because and I'm just why I wanted to hear your starting 5, because this is huge. Like, I'm a big sports guy. Right. Everybody talks who's the best. And when they don't have anything else to talk about.
Right.
We know we can at least keep this conversation going. It's clickbait, whatever.
Yeah.
It's because when you're trying, I think most people will at least agree, if you're trying to figure out who the best is, you're somewhat comparing them to Jordan in his career. So I think when you start talking about LeBron, or, I don't think Kobe gets enough love in that conversation.
Man, he was a beast.
And, you talk about, I know Shaquille's, but the impact in the game that he had, anyway, I think they're just always comparing it to Mike. So it's that 6-0 finals record that's the bar of what they're comparing to be the best.
And it's crazy to me because
the bill doesn't even come in the conversation, but and he's got 11 rings. Well, if we're to your point, if we're just talking about rings,
that's my point.
If that's your number one thing, all right. If you want to say he went to 6 finals and never lost, that's okay. He was 6-0 in the finals,
right?
But to then go and be like, well, until LeBron gets at least 6, or if Curry gets at least 6, then they're in the conversation,
right? And
also, it's like they're completely different players. LeBron he's such a physical, just different player, but he definitely changed the game. He's a generational player. Yeah. Shaq changed the game. Magic changed the game. Kareem changed the game. And I can't go back too much further than that. I was too young. I never saw really Dr. J play much, or Wilt or Bill. Even Bird, I kind of saw him coming in later stages. But, they changed the game. And then Steph changed the game.
Changed the game big time.
Even Kevin Durant changed the game with just how tall he was, but he was still a pure scorer.
Guard.
That's
crazy.
He's incredible. And I love watching the Dream Team stuff with KD, because he's so down to earth too.
Right.
But they changed the game, right? And you look like, who's the person in the league right now that can change the game?
Yeah.
And I mean, SGA deserving, but I don't see
game changer. I don't think.
I don't know. I mean, Wembanyama, he's a freak, just like KD, but I still think he's a little goofy on the court.
Right.
I
like SGA though, man.
I do like SGA,
and the reason I dig him, he's old school basic basketball, just the basics, man. And you can't stop the basics, and he brought that back. And I think your boy did the same thing too from Indiana. For the Indiana Pacers
this year.
Yeah.
Halliburton. Yeah.
I think Halliburton and SGA are excellent at doing the basics, man. They have mastered that thing, and that's why they're in the championship. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've become a huge fan of SGA, so I think he's going to go down as one of the greatest of his era. And what I decided, Drew, is this. No more who's the greatest, right? Magic's my favorite player of all time. But I I was having this beef with my 12-year-old son, Nate, right? and he watched clips a lot. He not old enough to know anybody really but Curry. But he watches clips a lot. And when he started seeing Magic, he was like, whoa, okay, Dad, I'm with you on Magic, right? And then we just started talking about who we think is the greatest based on what he saw. My other sons, we had this conversation. And one day I thought, you can't really say who's the greatest. It's about era and position. Because you can't say LeBron is better than Shaq or Shaq is less, because Shaq is a center.
Yeah.
And he was great at his position. So I'm right now at this point where I'm like, the greatest of their era, LeBron was the greatest of his era. Jordan was the greatest of his era. Magic was the greatest, period.
Love how we're. I'm not gonna say anybody's the greatest, but Magic.
But Magic, the
Greatest.
Yeah. And so Magic was the great. Magic is the greatest point guard in the NBA history. Jordan is the greatest two guard. Well, between him and Steph. So between Steph and Jordan, they're equally. And LeBron is, I think, is one of the greatest forwards of all time. So that's where I'm at now, where I'm doing positions. Because when you break it down, who was a better all-around player than LeBron?
It's you can't pull anybody into that conversation.
That's hard, dude.
When you look at his, again, across the board, like triple doubles, points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. Now I know Jordan was a, defender and whatever, but I've also seen the reports where it's like, well, he really only had 18 steals, but somehow on the stat line it says he has 32. Like I don't, it was Jordan, right?
Right.
I would agree though. I think I'd have to go Magic, Jordan. If I'm building a team,
right?
Magic at the 1, Jordan at the 2, LeBron at the 3, 4 and 5. Who would you put at 4?
It used to be Akeem Olajuwon, and then it was Shaq. But if we're trying to win a championship, I'm gonna have to go with I'm 62. From Milwaukee, dude. The center from Milwaukee.
Currently?
Yeah.
Giannis?
In reality, if I want to win a championship, I'm rolling with Giannis. So I'm rolling with Jordan, Magic at the top. Giannis is going to be my center. LeBron, and then honestly, I'm going to put Dr. J there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to put Dr. J there, and that'll be my 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm taking Olajuwon and moving him to the 4, and then I'm still taking Shaq as a center.
Okay.
I just don't like if the 3 key players aren't going to beat you. Shaq was a big guy, but his footwork was insane too. Excellent. And when I look back and think about Houston and Olajuwon, for that era, his footwork for a big guy was insane too.
Amazing.
So how are you going to
pivot master? Dude.
How are you going to stop that team?
Right.
Unless you have 5 Steph Currys that just hit 83s a game, which is possible. I don't know.
And then Tim Duncan got to be in the conversation as well. But I used to be an old head thinker where the older cats had, but I'm like, man, Giannis.
He's just like LeBron. He's just
and that's your center. Like Giannis is a beast, dude. So now you got LeBron. So Dr. J don't have to do as much, but what he does. And if you see video clips of Dr. J, I don't see why he's not in anyone's conversation in their top 5. I get it, but he's just not in a lot of the conversation anymore. Larry Bird too,
Bird was a dog. Dude. I love watching those videos of. Was it who was it? Was it Shumpert? That was Kobe. It was a young guy, and it was one of those Olympic things, and he was talking trash to last time 34 made a jump shot was like 1984 or something like that, and for like the whole first half of the practice game or whatever. Bird would just go down and tell him exactly what he was going to do.
Right.
And the story's like he didn't miss like 10 shots in a row. Right. And as they're walking off, he's like, feels a lot like 1984, doesn't it? Or something like that.
Wow.
And the guy was like, Bird just,
Wow.
But yeah, Bird was, he can't.
So what's your thought on, we talk about Jordan a lot. But no Pippen, no Jordan, dude.
I don't think he wins 6 without Pippen.
We don't have this conversation. It's not happening if no Pippen's there. So that played a huge role, and Scottie Pippen don't get the credit he deserved.
He didn't get it then.
Yeah.
I mean, and Rodman changed that team around a lot too.
Yeah.
Kind of gave them that edge that Detroit had for years.
Yeah.
That Chicago needed to beat those teams. I mean, Jordan bulked up too, and then Pippen was only getting better, and they had good role players. Kuechly was a good player.
Right.
You know,
They had a good team.
they had a good team, and Phil was a good coach. You know,
Spurs, good team. You know, the Warriors had a good team, and chemistry is more important than talent. And a lot of those teams that are considered the greatest teams of all time, a lot of people ignore the chemistry they had. And a lot of these players today, they're going to different teams trying to get traded, chasing that ring.
Yeah.
Right? But they don't understand it's chemistry, you know, and leadership. Like, let's take Miami, for example. It was Dwayne Wade was the reason that LeBron and Chris Bosh has 2 rings. It was Dwayne's leadership. He was like, I'll take the step back, and I don't mind it being your team, LeBron. I'll fit in. Mm-hmm. Great, just an excellent leader. And a lot of younger guys don't have that mindset. They want to be the one. I'm
thinking of Dwayne Wade's statue
team,
now,
dude.
Did you see his statue they put up of him?
Oh yeah, that was wild.
That was crazy. It was. And who hit the 3? They probably would never had the first ring if he didn't. Was it Glenn Rice?
Yeah.
Yeah, was it Rice that hit the 3 with like 2 seconds left? And,
boom.
And they don't make that, they don't win.
They don't win, dude. You know, and you got to have that good lead. I remember when I on the morning show, when Tanya left the morning show, it was Tanya and I at first, and then Amos in Africa and I was on the morning show at Jams. I saw Amos at a club and I thought it was hilarious. And I said, dude, I want you to join me on 102. And he's like, why would I want to join you on 102? You already the dude. I said, but here's the thing. If you're already number one, shouldn't you give your audience everything? Because I'm more of a Seinfeld type of sense of humor. And I needed that Carolina raw humor. Amos Quick was that. And the first thing I told Quick was, if you don't become the star of the morning show, you out. He said, make that make sense. I said, if you're not the star, and Quick was the star of that morning show, then Africa. And people didn't realize I was the third dude, but people always thought Busta was the, right? I would always be the one, I was like magic, right?
Yeah.
I'd throw the ball. And as long as Quick make a shot, I didn't care, right? And that's the key to great leadership, man. A great leader knows how to just fit in, you know? And that's the thing that these young guys don't have today in the NBA. They're trying to be the star because they, you know, it's like, oh, I'm almost this age. I got to get that ring before I got to get that notoriety like these other cats. It's like, nah, you go on the team and teach the rest of the team how to be the star, and you just fit in. And a lot of those guys would probably have a ring today.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I think when Jordan started his Hall of Fame speech, which it was a good speech. If you watch the whole thing, like, you do see some of his, I don't want to necessarily say narcissistic side of his behavior, although I do think he had some narcissistic tendencies.
Right.
But one of the first things he says in that speech is, you know, there is, and he thanked a lot of people, but I did respect that he took the time to say, there is no Michael Jordan without Scottie Pippen. And that's how he started that Hall of Fame speech. And so, like, you know, whether
I never knew that.
Yeah, and
Wow.
I had never really seen that either. But it might be like one of the first things he says.
Wow,
He kind of takes a
Way
second.
to go, Mike.
And I had a lot of, because he knows that. He knows that, you know, and Pip, like he says in The Last Dance,
Right.
which is one of my favorite documentaries, you know, Pip was the guy. And yeah, he should have gotten paid.
Man.
And, you know, when he set out, and he did, I mean, I get it. You want to be a team player, but you're winning championships and you're changing the game and like the worldwide impact of the
Right.
NBA and the money that was coming
Right.
in. You're one of the top 3 faces of the league. You getting paid 120th?
Wow.
Like his salary was,
It was booty.
it was
booty,
his rookie
man. Yeah,
contract, which
yeah.
was, but you know, and he mentions that he took that because he wanted stability for his family, and his dad was in a wheelchair and his brother was, you know, so I get that too. But at what
Right.
point, like, dude, you're making us so much money.
That's crazy. And let's talk about Jordan. That's another thing. And don't get me wrong, I know his endorsements was a lot of money. I get that. But another thing a lot of these younger players don't get is sacrifice, right? The leadership, you know, you have to know how to step back and let other people shine. A lot of the young guys don't get that today. But the thing that a lot of people don't talk about Michael Jordan, when his rookie contract was up, he told Chicago, keep it as it is, find me a team.
Yeah.
It was time for him to make a ton of money. He said, use that money, find me a team.
He wanted to win.
He wanted to win.
Yeah.
He didn't say, give me the $30 million a year and we'll figure it out. Jordan was a leader and a visionary, man.
Yeah.
And he made sacrifices to get those 6 rings, man. I mean, he was straight up, look, keep that money. They found Pippen, right? And they found Rodman and they found other players. And next thing you know, he's Michael Jordan to this day. But it's because of the sacrifice that Michael had and the faith in his team too, because when they made that one championship, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I remember Phil Jackson saying, give the ball to Michael. And they break. Michael went to Paxson and said, listen, I'm going to throw the ball to you. Don't let me down.
You're going to be open. It was Paxson. And he ended up doing the same thing to Kerr.
With Kerr too.
On the later, yeah.
Right. And that's a leader, man.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that today, man. And if they have more of that, Curry, same way. If they had more of that today, a lot of these guys that's chasing a ring would have a ring. But you got to know how to sacrifice and step back and give that shine to the people that need to shine, That's
very transferable to a lot of facets of life too.
Oh yeah, period.
Just in business and whatnot.
Yeah. Because
it doesn't. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm gonna say because if Amos wasn't as cold-blooded as he was on the morning show, he was in Africa. I don't know if that morning show would not have been successful. I mean, it was me stepping back and shining the light on them too. No African Amos, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
And that's just a real deal, right? I mean, I was funny afternoon drive by myself, but when Quick came and Africa came, it's something about having a Pippen on your team and a Shaq having a Kobe on his team, right? And a Dr. J having a Maurice Cheeks and so on. It's something about that helps you shine when it's just not on you, because people are going to eventually get tired of just you all the time. Mm-hmm. But when you have a team, man, and the chemistry's so dope, we wouldn't be having this conversation, man, because they came along and took Busta to the next level.
Yeah.
Because
well, I mean, to give yourself props, you still had to be behind, like helping them become great too.
Yeah.
And to your point, as a good leader, like
good leader.
I won't say names, but I've got friends that have always they're employees at what they do, and it's like, oh well, my boss. I'm like, well, you're great at what you do,
right?
And in this case, like everybody's really pleased with the outcome,
right?
So like, and don't get me wrong, some bosses just do step out and they're just not great anyway. But in this case, it was like, he hired you, right, and then your counterpart, and he worked hard to get to where he's at. So yeah, maybe you're putting in more hours right now, but the success is he's still there. So like, you got to give that person props too,
right?
But also knowing when to step back and let those people shine. Anyway,
man. You got to know how to do that, man. And
putting them in a position to be successful.
You have to, man. And I just, to this day, and not because of me, I've never heard a better morning show than the morning show with Amos, Africa, and myself, because of the love and respect we have for each other. We just really thought each other was funny.
I almost asked you which one you put in the dungeon, but I'm not going to do that to you.
Between Amos and Africa?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that to you. Amos and Africa. Who goes to, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We won't do that.
Oh, God, that's hilarious. If I had to say which one did I give up, that would be a tough situation. That'd be tough.
We won't.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's
And Amos is actually my pastor now.
Is he? Well, we definitely won't do that.
I can't throw but Africa, man, she's the best radio personality in radio history, other than Leslie Stovall, who I grew up with in San Francisco, because of the connection Leslie had with me as a kid. But other than that, Africa is the greatest radio personality, female, ever in radio for me. And I've been in radio for over 40 years.
Is she still doing it? Is she still in it?
I think she is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think she probably left QMG because a lot of changes in radio now because everybody going to podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Radio don't have the
Why would
impact.
anybody do a podcast? I don't even know.
Yeah.
As we sit on one. Right.
But here's the thing. Everybody's turning to podcasts because you can create your own Spotify list.
Yeah.
You know, the station I work for now, WZOO, we have a loyal listening audience because they're 50 to 80 years old, and they don't have time to try to make a playlist, and so they enjoy the old school music. But when you take away the radio personalities, that hurt radio.
Yeah.
It did. When they took away, when they made radio personalities more liner jocks and getting in and out and quick, then you got podcasts like yourself and other podcasts making entertainment news fun again. People tuning into the podcast, they want to be informed, man.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, black radio had this concept that black people don't want to be informed. They want to just be entertained. It's like they wanted both. And they took that, and black radio is dying a horrible death, man. And it's very unfortunate. Like two guys named Chris, all they do is talk.
They've been around for a long
Killing
time
it.
too. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they're amazing, right? If you had to go do a Radio Hall of Fame greatest morning shows, they got to be in there. And all they do is talk. And how do you tell black radio DJs that nobody wants to hear talking anymore? When the number one morning show is talking, then you bring syndicated radio stations in on these black radio stations, and all they're doing is talking. But you're telling the local cats that no one wants to hear talking.
That's hard. It's hard to believe that.
It's ridiculous. And that's what they started doing. And that's when it just started going down the toilet. And then they'll tell us that, well, less talk is better. Well, the richest black media cats are the talkers. And the ones they're shutting up are out of jobs. It's the craziest thing in the world.
To just take the podcast argument to that. Like, people are watching and listening to podcasts.
Big time.
From anything to, it could be a romance novel, or, me and my wife fall asleep, which
Big
is
time.
really strange, to true crime stuff. It's like, oh, they stabbed the person and we're falling asleep to it. But, and when we go on vacation, sometimes we'll put music on. We're both big music people. But typically we hit a road trip, 4, 5, 6 hours. It's like, all right, what podcast do you want to listen to?
Dude.
We want to hear the story. It keeps us awake. It keeps us captivated. Or, if I'm going somewhere, or that's, whether it's a motivational speaker, or I'm going somewhere to talk on a subject or whatnot, and so I start listening to things around that subject to kind of hear how other great people have done it and learn from it. Like, it's not, entertainment is not just music.
It's not. People want to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
And this is an era and a culture of information. And what's the tea on this person? What's the tea on that person, right? And on my radio show at WZOO, it's totally different than what I used to be. Every story is positive. And some of my friends in radio, they say, I listen to your show. Where do you find this stuff? I say, you always find what you're looking for. And I'm always looking for love and positivity. Every day I tell my audience, you're beautiful, you're handsome, I love you. And you have grown men with their wives and children. When they see me, they can't wait to come give me a hug and say they love me and call me handsome. And it's what you pushing, right? What you give people the most is what they're going to accept the most. And that's the issue that Jams and I fell out with. I felt like it's time for us to push a little bit more positivity out there. You know, we got the music that's already doing the other stuff.
Yeah.
But let the jocks push, you know, let's get out in the community. Let's do mentorship and just different things like that. And it just seemed like hip hop radio just they just didn't want to do that anymore, man. It's like the cussing and things like that. And you know for a fact with hip hop radio, you know for a fact young people are listening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is not for kids, you know. That's up to the parents, but you know the kids are listening.
Well, and you had that realization when the person called in and said, "Hey, you know, my 6-year-old daughter."
Yeah.
You had that realization then, like, I mean, I do have an influence.
I have an influence.
I absolutely have, just like the music has the influence as well.
It'd be nice. I mean, I get it. You know, you're a grown woman, a grown man, and you're not making music for kids, but you got to realize the kids are listening and you know, give us a little something. You know, you could, you know, like if you listen to old Jay-Z albums and old Nas albums, even Tupac albums, they still had some music that you can play for young people and say, listen to this, without saying, don't worry about the lyrics. No horrible lyrics in it, no cussing, no inappropriate stuff. The old school rappers, they had their gangster stuff, but then they also had records that ministered to our communities.
Yeah.
And we just don't have a lot of that today. And I just wish we had a little bit more of that. And like I said, I'm not knocking anybody's thing, but man, it'd be nice if we had more options for our African-American kids that's out there, because they're born into a music genre of just that. They're born into social media influencers and YouTubers that are just that. And it's, you know, that's cool if you're doing that, but can we have some influencers and YouTubers and radio stations that's giving kids another option of what cool should look like and sound like? And a lot of our black kids are not getting enough of that, and it does bother me. And like I said, I was wild and crazy, but you know, at one point, you know, you do have to grow up. And now that I've grown out of that, I don't judge it, but I'm like, okay, where are the options? Because the options saved my life, Andrew. It did. Without the options of black radio cats back when I was younger, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know whether I'd be in jail. I don't know where I'd be selling dope. I mean, because I'm a hood dude, right? And I didn't have the best grades in the world, you know? Early on, my grades got better as I got older, and I decided I just wanted out of school because I hated school. And I thought, what is the best way to get out of school? Good grades, guaranteed.
Yeah. Somebody said I had to go back to school. I don't know. I make that joke when I'm teaching real estate classes.
Right.
They're like, man, this test is hard. I was like, yeah, if I had to retake it, I would just pick a different career. And I love my career.
Right.
I don't want to go take that test again. But no, I
So
love.
why did you decide to get into podcast?
So it's a great question. I don't know if this has ever really come up on this show. First time I've been asked. I'm gonna try to land this plane quickly. As a real estate agent, as somebody that is in the community I've grown up in this city. I try to also have, you know, one of my key goals right now is to be more acts of service and whatnot and give back. And I love this city. And so many people I hear throughout the years, I can't wait to get out of there. Or it's Greensboro, it's small like that, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I just, every time I go visit somewhere I love to travel, I'm like, man, I can't wait to get home. And in my industry, social media became more popular, videos. It wasn't just pictures anymore, but the storytelling around the client and the art of selling and all that, and whatever you want to call it, and the branding that became associated with an individual as a real estate agent. And I kept seeing people do the same things. They would get on air and they'd be, well, this is what due diligence is. It's like, okay, cool. Like, that's my least favorite conversation to have with a client is having, it's a necessary evil. You need to understand what that is. And I get that getting on camera and bringing that value is important. But to me, I wanted to start something like this.
Right.
but had nothing to do with real estate.
Oh, wow.
And that had to do with Greensboro.
Okay.
Right. So I have my real estate page. I have my firm. I love it. I try to funnel it. I try to talk to that algorithm, but I wanted this to be completely separate. And when I started talking about it, and Thomas was, he called me about something completely different. He was, hey, do you need somebody to photographer and video some of your houses?
Right,
and I was
right,
like,
right.
not really, but I have this idea.
Right.
And the whole goal of it was to interview people I thought were cool in the city, people that are doing big things.
That's what's up.
Maybe something that somebody had never heard of, or just somebody like my first guest was my buddy Raffy. And he did me a favor, and I'm very appreciative. But people don't understand how much he does for his community. And he's a commercial real estate agent, very successful, highly intelligent, but like he gives so much to his community that he's in. And just live so intentional. Nobody really knows that. Well, he doesn't talk about it. It's just, that's behind the scene. He's not like, I'm going to go do this. He's like really the person that's doing it. Right. And, just small time musicians like Jay Timber was on. I've known Jay Timber for a long time. And that was the first time I met him face to face. I had 2 of his songs on my playlist and whatnot.
Cool is that?
So just knowing he's Greensboro based and being able to sit, so to me, that's cool.
Right.
And then meeting, to your point, if I would have started this podcast, wouldn't have started this, I probably would have never met you.
Right.
And now I'm sitting down with somebody that, is a legend, first off.
Right.
And I'm
Thank
so
you.
appreciative of your time. But like, I wouldn't be sitting next to Busta Brown and thinking about, getting those little nostalgic chills about it. So the same thing. I wanted to showcase Greensboro and the cool people that have had an effect and still currently have
That's
an
what's
effect.
up.
So that's
Are
why
you
I want to
familiar
start
with
this.
Gab Beats? Gab Beats. You got to interview him.
I would love that. I'm not.
He pretty music producer and worked with Jay-Z, worked with everybody. And just recently, he got a certificate, a Grammy certificate for Cowboy Carter album because he did the pianos on one of Beyonce's songs. And you gotta. I hit Thomas up and got to make that happen because I'm definitely going to interview him when I start my podcast back up. Because he's a interesting brother.
Yeah.
And right here in Greensboro.
I would love that. I've never.
And he loves his city. Like he could move to New York, LA because he's making good money doing what he does for a living. But he's like, I'm not leaving Greensboro. I can do what I do from here, and I love Greensboro. And I'm like, that's what's up. And that'll make an excellent interview because based on what you were just telling me about how you love the city and you want to spotlight the different things and the people.
Yeah.
And he'd be a good dude to talk to about that. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. I would love the opportunity. We've started to wrap up here. One, I thank you again so much, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's so awesome hearing your story and getting to carve out a little bit of your time. I know that your faith is very important to you. And I know you've touched on it a few times. You take a few minutes and just kind of explain what that's meant to you and how you continue to live through that, whether it's through the mentorships and just kind of having those options for other people.
Lately, as of late, it's never a day I've not fall asleep to the Bible or waking up to the Bible. And where that come from for those out there listening, if you have a hard time finding time to read daily or read before you go to sleep, what I end up doing is I went to YouTube and I look at the videos on YouTube. They don't waver from the word. It's just that it makes it easier for me to sit back and relax, and I don't have to pick up the book and read it. So I don't miss a day now reading. But my faith come from, I had 4 vocal surgeries. That's what my voice is rhapsody here and there. And can you imagine, dude, being a radio personality with 4 vocal surgeries and they didn't fire me? Having a vocal surgery on WXII news, and my voice was like this on TV news. And what they decided to do, instead of saying bye, because you embarrassing us with our audience, they were like, we're going to do a segment, and each week we're going to take our listeners, our viewers behind the scene with you on your road to recovery with your vocal surgery. So now that took away from the whether the viewers were watching going, oh, this is driving me crazy, his voice. Now they're in on what happened. Is Busta going to get his voice back? Now they're rooting for me and praying for me, right? These are the kind of things that God just made happen without me, right? On 102 and 97, I lost my voice on both of those stations. And they stuck with me. And instead of saying, dude, you got to go, you know? So those things, man, that God just made so clear that God was on my side. As a kid, one of the heaviest things that ever happened to me dealing with my relationship with God, and I'm a Jesus dude, right? I'm a Jesus dude. And I don't like nobody else's religion. This is just my thing. It was about 3:00 in the morning, and I was, doing traffic. Like I said, I was doing traffic, and I got up. I'm sorry. I was asleep. And about 3:00 in the morning, I'm asleep. And Andrew, to this day, I don't think it was a dream. But I don't know what I did so bad to go to hell, because I was never a horrible person. But I was sinking, going down, and my body started burning. And I'm like, what did I do to go to hell? Right? Because I felt like I'm about to go, because I'm burning, dude. And I'm like, what did I do so bad? And the first thing I said was, well, I remember I was always taught when you call the name of Jesus, I was up. And I woke up. My son, who's 46 now, he woke up. He said, Dad, why do you always have to go to work in the nighttime? Because it was 3:00 in the morning. And I was like, oh, no, it's still morning or whatever. And I kicked right into being a dad and all of that. And there it was right there, that there is something out there, and there's some power in that name. And my whole life, whenever I called the name Jesus, amazing things happened, whether it was big or small. Whenever I stepped away and just gave it to God, I had relief. And so I never one that's out there saying, you need to get saved, and you need to be a Christian, and you need to be, you just find out what's really going to work for you so you can find that peace. And God works for me. Jesus works for me. And if there's somebody out there that believe in God and believe in Jesus, and you have questions about why certain things, well, if that's the case, if he loved us, then why would he put the tree there and Adam go through that? And why did you have to do this? And why did you have to suffer and go through the crucifixion, and Paul end up dying, and nobody had a happy life, and there's no guarantees? One of the things I learned through looking at these videos about the Bible is, in between scripture, they give you some pretty dope comments. And one of the comments that they said that saved my life when I had these questions was, the minute you stop seeking for explanations and always questioning why and how, you're going to find the peace you're looking for, and God just going to deliver your results.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say on every radio show that I've ever had is, don't go to people, go to God, and you'll get the best results. People can give you opinions, but God give you guaranteed results. And if you just accept the results that God gives you, you'll find peace, and this is enough.
Yeah.
If this is what God gave me, this is enough. Not the millions, not the house that you dreamed about, because you had these dreams, and yeah, it'd be good to have all that. But when you accept that this is what God gave me, this is enough. And when you get to that point in your life, you're going to have peace beyond anything you've ever seen, and you've ever imagined. And that's where we need to go. And so that's what I'll share with you about where my faith is right now, is just accepting the fact that whatever God has for me, it's enough. And I'm good with that.
It's a good message.
Yeah. I love it, dude.
Well, Busta, I thank you so much again for being on this. Such a cool experience. Absolute legend. Hopefully you guys made it this far. Thank you again for being here. And y'all tune in. Episode 21 coming up soon.
Peace.
Thanks, buddy. Sweet.